Okay, hi, this is Alessandro Ashanti, and I'm with Professor Hassan Abur-Rahman, direct descendant, direct student of Dr. Moses Powell. He was Dr. Moses Powell's second black belt. He started training in 1965 with Dr. Powell, and he came in as a black belt in Goju under Master Padu, who was a direct student of Peter Urban. Where today is February 18th, 2018, and we're here at Professor's house in Phoenix. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up?
I grew up in the South Bronx, and unfortunately, if you didn't know how to defend yourself, you were going to have a problem. And that was just basically for about 100% of the population of the South Bronx. Okay, and if you didn't learn how to defend yourself, you were either going to get hurt or die.
Okay, how did you get started in the martial arts?
I got started in the martial arts. I saw a demonstration, and I was completely shocked at how the people moved. Okay, I already was wrestling at the YMCA, catch wrestling, and boxing. Okay, and that was in the year 1959. I boxed and wrestled for 3 years, and then when I saw the martial arts demonstration, I had to get into it to add it to what I was doing.
How long have you been training in the martial arts now? Since 1959 then?
Since 1959.
And so how did you meet your first teacher? Was he the one who you saw the demonstration with?
No. I saved my money and went to Tremont School of Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. And I didn't want to do Judo and Jiu-Jitsu because I already know how to wrestle, so I'm not going to do another type of grappling. So they had Taekwondo there, and I took that for a little bit. I had signed the contract and all this stuff. That's how the schools was back then. That were there to make money. And I did not like the class. Okay, because I had experience in fighting, so the teacher wanted to come at me and act crazy and knock me down and stuff like that. So I told him I want to learn. I don't want to have to come here and protect myself all the time. I need to learn what you're teaching. So he continued. So I just told the owner of the place I didn't want to study here no more. Because he came at me one time and I wasn't ready. And I always taught to protect myself and use my instincts. And I wind up kicking him in the groin and cracking his cup. And his cup pinched his balls. He started yelling and screaming at me. And so I just quit that day. And when I went to school the next day, somebody told me about Padu, And I didn't know that there was any black people teaching martial arts. I always thought it was just Caucasians and Asians. So I went to see Padu, interviewed with him, and I wind up staying down there studying with him. The school was in Harlem on 125th Street. So I was with him for a few years, and it was a good experience. Okay, and all the other students in the class were bigger than me. So when we fought, I had to learn how to protect myself. In order for me to get in to hit them, since they were bigger than me, I had to learn how to take hits to get my short body in there to hit them. And it was a beautiful experience.
And what was the style you were studying?
Goju. USA Goju. He was under Peter Urban down in Chinatown. And then a little bit later, somebody introduced me to Moses Powell with the style that I'm doing now. And he was right down the street. Purdue was at 29 West 125th Street, and Moses Powell was at 1 West 125th Street, which is like 5 buildings down.
Right. Funny.
And that was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me in my life, because he just brought my knowledge to a good experience, because he used all of the stuff that I learned and combined them into what he was showing me. And that was beautiful. And I'm still doing it today.
So did you sign up right away? How did you meet him? What was your impression when you first met him?
Well, somebody told me about him. They said, yeah, I'll take you down there. He's right down the street. He took me down there, and I got out and moved. And in my movements and stuff, he says, I need you here. And then he asked me a week later if I wanted to be one of his proteges. And I took that as an honor and said yes. Okay, and the stuff he showed me, I'm still doing today. I added stuff to it, because that's what you do when you get older and you're in the same system. You contribute to the system, because that's how it grows. And like I said, that was a beautiful thing for me.
Do you have a favorite memory of Dr. Powell?
Well, we became good friends. So my memory of him, because he wasn't that older than me, he was like having a great big brother. So my memory of him is that's how our relationship grew. He wasn't my sensei, he was my bigger brother. Okay? And he blessed me with the experience that I didn't have to call him sensei. He was Mo. So even today when people come around me that's from the same system, all they do is call him Grand Master, Doc, and all this stuff. And things just naturally come out my way. Oh, you talking about Mo? That comes out my mouth, and they look at me and go, how can you just say that? Because I used to say it from day one.
Right.
I said I've been with Doc since 1965. You just joined him.
And how old were you in 1965 when you met him?
I think I was around 16. And I was a teenager and he was in his 20s. So, I had him at full strength.
Right.
A lot of people studied with Doc when he was in the condition of what I'm in now. Both of us sitting in a chair.
Were there any difficulties in your training at all? Other than just hard training, were there any difficult moments you had during the course of your career?
No. I was blessed with being able to copy whatever he did. So I know all students don't do that, but I was blessed with it.
Right.
And it was just fun.
Can you tell me, outside of your teachers, was there anybody who was a big influence on you in the martial arts?
Outside of my teachers, I had a friend that was doing martial arts. I forget his name, because this goes back to the 60s. And he was doing martial arts and he was getting me to come to the class. And he was showing me some of the moves, and I was doing my boxing and wrestling, but I was always beating him. And I said, no, I don't want to go to class. You're not doing anything that I'm going to pick up on. But he was just starting in it. So when I saw the demo that came to my Catholic school, because they were giving a demo at an assembly, and obviously the good guys are going to come. And when the guys came, I was impressed with their movements and stuff like that. And I think it was the style was Shotokan. And I didn't know that there was all different styles of karate. So after I got in, because when I was taking taekwondo, it was nothing like Shotokan.
Right.
You know, and I don't know if that made me quit early because I remembered what the guys were doing. And that impressed me. So that's why I started looking for a teacher.
So since you go back to Sanuces before it was Sanuces, can you tell us a bit about the name of the system back then and what its emphasis was?
It was called Self-Defense Complete. Because Doc was doing from all of the different type of martial arts. He was combining all into one system. So that's why it was called Self-Defense Complete. But what he was teaching me was how to survive dangerous situations in the street. So my classes were based on defending yourself in the street. And that was something I fell in love with. Okay, so it's not like what you see typically in typical martial arts, where you memorize techniques and do things. He was teaching you how to react naturally to being attacked by somebody robbing you, jumping on you, and stuff like that, and not panicking. You can't say, oh, let me do technique number 4, because people don't attack you that way in the street. Sometimes you just don't know it, and they jump on you.
How did Self-Defense Complete differ from what Sanuces was, or became?
Well, there was 3 different systems that Doc developed. Okay, there was Self-Defense Complete, and then it was called Modern Jiu-Jitsu. So in Modern Jiu-Jitsu, it started turning into like what the Japanese were doing and stuff like that in their martial arts, and coming straight on, and you're protecting yourself and memorizing the different movements. So Doc would say, give me technique 1 through 10. Okay? And then it graduated to Sanuces in 1973. Okay? And then he started emphasizing, other than Japanese style, he started putting in his rhythm of doing things. So it was combining a little bit of the Self-Defense Complete with the Japanese things.
Gotcha.
So he could say that, yeah, this is street self-defense.
So what would you say the most important lesson you learned being a member of Self-Defense Complete going into Sanuces? Like what did you bring with you, or did you keep things relatively the same?
I kept things the same because that's what he wanted me to do. He didn't want me coming to Sanuces and doing Sanuces. So basically I don't really know anything about Sanuces. Okay, I wasn't trained to do their forms, the Pia forms, or when somebody twists your arm, you go flying through the air and coming down hard on the floor. You do things combatively, so if somebody throw you down, you go down. You don't flip over. Because sometimes when you flip over and you flip wrong, which is easy to do, you hit the ground on the wrong angle, you're going to break something or start to cause arthritis. You know, your joints can only take but so much flipping over.
Gotcha. So what was the dojo like, the school, like back in the self-defense complete days?
In self-defense complete days, Doc had two different classes. He had the classes that people were coming in to learn martial arts, so they dressed in gis. Okay, most of the class, and then there was self-defense, preparing yourself to fight in the street. Most of my classes that I had with Doc was that one. Okay, I went to both, but my heart was in the preparing the street, learning how to street fight. Okay, because in my neighborhood, people always getting beat up, mugged, or in gang fights. Okay, and I always didn't want to be the one that was going to die.
Right.
So that's why I just practice and practice and practice.
So, who were your classmates back then? Who would people who are still involved that we would know? Who was in self-defense complete with you?
There, being that I was a teenager, yeah, there were adults there that worked. Most of the people that were in the class were people who were coming back from Vietnam and stuff like that. So they wanted to continue to learn how to fight. Because when they were overseas, they were learning the different types of martial arts. So when they came home, they wanted to continue. Okay. There's Soke Little John. That was John's, Moses' other protege, and Grandmaster Lumumba Hernandez. Okay, we three were his guinea pigs on forming Sanuces. And then Doc had kids in the class. One of the big kids in the class is Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad. Okay, and then there's a few other people that I can't remember everybody's name, but I just know these people that I just mentioned personally, and we still talk with each other, even though I'm out in Arizona.
So Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad was a kid in the self-defense complete
Yes.
class then?
Yeah. Yeah.
From what I've seen, the three of you, the first three black belts, have very distinct styles. Why is that?
When Doc was forming self-defense complete, Little John came to him at 9 years old as doing Shotokan. His Shotokan teacher brought him to Doc because he was dying. Okay, and he gave him to Doc. Lumumba was doing Kung Fu.
I'm bouncing block.
Okay, and soft movement. Okay, I came from Goju, boxing, and wrestling. So he let me keep the knowledge I know, and then he started teaching me how to react to situations naturally, like an animal. I didn't have to memorize movements. I just had to stop the other person. Okay, and then just move. Okay, Lil John, he taught self-defense complete and let him keep his Shotokan. Now, Lil Jon has his own system today, okay, and that's why he's called Soke, okay, and it's Komite-Ryu Jujitsu. So it's completely hard, okay, there's nothing soft about it, and if you attack one of them, they're just going to come at you 100 miles an hour, okay, and their bodies are conditioned to take whatever. Lumumba did Kung Fu and soft movements. So when he comes at you, it's like somebody coming at you doing Tai Chi. Okay, and he was taught the self-defense complete movements, and Doc let him keep those movements.
So out of the three of you, and I've actually, thinking about it now, I've actually been on the floor with all three of you, or I've taken class or trained with all three of you. It appears to me that John went on to have the most public of the styles.
Yes.
And that you were still always available to teach, but am I right in thinking that Lumumba didn't continue on and take on students?
No, Lumumba teaches Tai Chi today,
Gotcha.
out in the park. And he wasn't too interested. Well, he didn't like some of the senior students in Sanuces. So he really doesn't do anything with Sanuces. He goes to a lot of the events, but he don't go out on the floor. He just sits on the sideline and spectate. And when he goes home, he has a Tai Chi class. Okay? I'm like a hermit. So, I'm not interested in having a bunch of students. If you want to study with me, come. If it's not here, too bad.
Do you have anybody who would carry on your work?
I have one student in New York. It's teaches when people want to come, because he teaches like how I teach, so he became a hermit. I have one student out here, James and Jaron. I'm passing the system on to them, and they will continue because they like to teach.
Yes.
Okay. I give to students what they want and what they need. If they want to teach, they can teach. Okay? I don't tell nobody, no, you can't teach, but I teach you.
Are there any other students who are teaching the system that you recognize?
Yeah, out here in Arizona, down in Sierra Vista, his name is Abdul Ali. He is like my second in command of the system. Okay, so if I pass, he can call himself the headmaster of San Wazi. Okay, and he has a few students. And like I said, when you learn from me, what else you learn is not to be out there in the public. Okay? Because a lot of times when you're paying rent for space, you can't teach the way you want to. You have to teach. If the student can't do 10 push-ups, don't worry about it. I got to pay rent, so I need you to pay your tuition. When you teach out of your garage, if the student is not doing what you want them to do and they're just playing, you say, after class, don't come back. So I prefer to teach that way and pass it on that way. Okay? Because you don't teach nobody to play.
So out of, well, let me ask you this. Do you have any message you'd want to pass on to Sanuces? Something you'd want to say to Sanuces practitioners?
Stop copying what you see out on the floor. You go out You can still do something similar, but let it be you. You don't have to act and be like somebody. Okay, you are you, and they are they.
Yeah. So use my.
Okay, and that's how I was taught by Doc. Don't do exactly what I do, because a lot of times when he taught me a movement, I do the movement, he tells me stop, and then he tells me, what else do you see you can do? And I do the same thing with my students. When they start to learn how to move, then I tell them, stop in the middle of the movement and see how many variations you got to do. Then that's how you start to react naturally and not worry about technique 1, technique 2. So that's what I would pass on to the Sanuces people.
Now, you, when in the hospital, you told me about some experiences that you had where Dr. Powell visited you. And you said he had a message that he asked you to pass forward. What was that message?
He did not like what Sanuces look like now. Okay, and he asked me, so technically I died in the hospital, and I went out for a while and came back. And I was sitting in a room and all of the walls were different colors and lit up. Okay? My mother and father came to me and said that they were sorry for the way they tried to raise me. And then my grandmother came and told me, forgive my parents. Because I went to my grandmother's house and stayed with her. And she raised me. Okay? And then Moses Powell came in and told me, I need you to do something for me. So now I'm in the process of doing a video book, and I'm going to put it on YouTube when I'm done. And it's going to go from self-defense complete to Sanuces, so people can understand what Moses Powell was about. And still what they think about him now. Okay? And he told me to get Anton, Lil John, Urban, Anthony Muhammad, and did I say Urban?
Yes.
Okay. It was 5 people. Oh, Bill McLeod. Okay, and me. Since he was talking to me. Okay, and each of them are going to represent the different styles in the system. Oh, and Grandmaster Lumumba. So that's 7. Grandmaster Lumumba, me, and Lil John, okay, are going to be self-defense complete. Modern Jiu-Jitsu is going to be Anton. Okay, and Sanuces is going to be Anthony Muhammad and Urban and Bill McLeod. Now, Urban is going to be the one that's going to talk about the PIA forms that he developed, because that's what Urban does now, and that's what he always did. So all his techniques and stuff like that he teach come out of the PIA forms. So that with all of these people are going to see how complete Doc was as a teacher, and not seeming that he just teach one thing. You'll see that he was able and blessed to learn and teach everything. Okay?
Great. That's a pretty amazing message, and I think it's a very powerful vision to see it come true. Well, let's wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything you wanted to bring up?
That's a stretch.
I just want people to realize what Doc taught. And some of the people gave themselves ranks and became grandmasters. I want you to realize what you did. Okay? I've been with him since 1965. People call me a grandmaster, but I tell everybody I'm only a professor. The only grandmaster I actually know is God. Okay? And that's it. I don't personally even like that title. I don't think no man should have that title. I think that's just an ego thing. Okay? Doc never called himself Doc or Grandmaster. He always called himself Professor. And so did his teacher. So, it is what it is. And that's just my feelings on titles. Even though some people call me a grandmaster, I don't bite their head off. You know, because that's what they were taught and that's what they believe. Okay? And that's just an individual thing.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and this is very informative. And I hope that others gain a lot out of your words and insight.
Thank you.
Come up here.
That's awesome.
I'm going to walk over there.
Okay.
And,
Perfect.
do my thing.
Awesome.
You trying to dance to that song, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Dynamite.
Hollywood swinging.